So here's just a very short video looking at an overview of the brachial plexus. So the brachial plexus is a bit of a spaghetti junction where you'll have spinal nerve roots coming in, carrying motor and sensory fibers, combining, dividing, recombining, and then forming the peripheral nerves that will go to predominantly serve the upper limb and also the pectoral girdle. So if we look at the 5 roots of the brachial plexus, first of all, these are going to be 5 from C5. So we can see C5, C6, C7, C8, and T1 spinal nerve roots are going to be emerging between the vertebrae, and these will emerge then between scalenus anterior and scalenus medius. What will happen next is that these roots will combine to form the various trunks of the brachial plexus. So we look at the upper 2 roots, they're going to come together to form the upper trunk. The lower 2 roots will combine together, that's C8 and T1, to form the lower trunk of the brachial plexus. And then the middle root, that's C7, continues on by itself to form the middle trunk of the brachial plexus. And these trunks are going to be visible very inferiorly in the posterior triangle of the neck. What will happen next is that each of these trunks will divide into an anterior and a posterior division. So that means we have 3 anterior divisions and 3 posterior divisions to concern ourselves with. Let's look at the posterior ones first, because that's rather straightforward. The 3 posterior divisions will combine together just to form the posterior cord of the brachial plexus. Next, if you look at the upper 2 anterior divisions, that's going to be from the upper and the middle trunk, those 2 anterior divisions combine together now to form the lateral cord of the brachial plexus. The anterior division of the lower trunk, that will continue on by itself just to form the medial cord of the brachial plexus. These divisions can be difficult to visualize and can actually be quite difficult to see on any cadaveric dissections because this is all occurring behind the clavicle. So unless part of that bone's been removed, it's going to be difficult to see. So here we now have the cords of the brachial plexus, the lateral, posterior, and medial cords, and these are going to be lying within the axilla, and they're going to be lying in position around the axillary artery, specifically the second part of the axillary artery as it lies behind the pectoralis minor muscle. And so you're going to find the lateral cord lying on the lateral side of the artery, the posterior cord lying posterior, and then the medial cord lying medial to the axillary artery. Next, we need to look at all the branches of the brachial plexus. Now there's a large number of these, so it's best to just chunk them together and do them in a logical order. So let's look at the branches from the lateral cord first. There are 3 of these, and 2 of them are going to have the word lateral in their name. So the mnemonic here is 2LM. So we're going to have the lateral pectoral nerve, the lateral head of the median nerve, and then the musculocutaneous nerve, which does run laterally, piercing coracobrachialis to enter the anterior compartment of the arm. So that's the lateral cord, 2LM. If we then look at the posterior cord of the brachial plexus, the mnemonic here to remember is STARS. And all of these nerves and branches are going to be running posteriorly to supply aspects of the posterior pectoral girdle or scapular region, or else the posterior compartments of the upper limb. So the 2 S's, they stand for the 2 subscapular nerves, the upper and lower subscapular, going to supply subscapularis and teres major. T stands for thoracodorsal, running back to latissimus dorsi. The axillary nerve, that's going to be running posteriorly, just underneath the shoulder joint, running back to supply the deltoid muscle and teres minor. And then the OR, that stands for the radial nerve, which supplies both extensor compartments of the upper limb, the posterior compartment of the arm, and the posterior compartment of the forearm. So now the last of the 3 cords, that's the medial cord. And again, there are 5 branches from this, and 4 of these will have the word medial in their name. So the mnemonic here to remember is 4MU. So you're going to have the medial pectoral nerve, the medial head of the median nerve. The last 2 medial nerves, they're going to be the cutaneous nerves. So the medial cutaneous nerve of the arm and the medial cutaneous nerve of the forearm. The last one, U, that's going to be the ulnar nerve, supplying predominantly the small muscles of the hand, but also contributing to the anterior compartment of the forearm. So there are the 3 sets of branches from the lateral, the posterior, and the medial cords of the brachial plexus. There are a small number of other branches from elsewhere as well, so we'll turn our attention back to the roots of the brachial plexus, because we have 1 nerve coming from the first root of the brachial plexus, a second nerve coming from the upper 2 roots of the brachial plexus, and a third nerve coming from the upper 3 roots of the brachial plexus. And that third nerve is the important one to remember. That's going to be the long thoracic nerve of Bell, which runs down to supply serratus anterior in the medial axilla, and it does have to be avoided during axillary surgery such as lymph node dissections for breast carcinoma. The first two nerves, the dorsal scapular from C5 and the subclavius from C5, C6, are more minor. Dorsal scapular running posterior to supply the rhomboids, and the nerve subclavius running to supply the subclavius muscle. Then the last of the branches from the brachial plexus we need to concern ourselves with is typically described as coming from the upper trunk of the brachial plexus. So that's going to be C5, C6 nerve root values, and that is the suprascapular nerve.